In data land, it's kind of different to engineering. Engineering, they do a lot of testing in what's called staging environments, so they're like pretend versions of the real world. In data, it's really hard to do that, and so DBT gave us this tool that let us test a lot of the things before we put them into production or the real world.
At Monzo, the data transformation steps break into kind of three key areas. We have base tables, which load all of our raw data that comes from our various analytics events coming out of our apps. We then have a whole bunch of staging tables, and that's really where the transformation happens. And then those flow down into entity tables, and that's what Looker, our BI tool, consumes. We spend most of our time in the staging area of things and really developing SQL queries around that. DBT actually has made the start of the process a lot simpler, because we're able to write macros and we're able to have various command line tools. So we can do the whole top of the pipeline really, really quickly. And then it just frees up a lot more time to just do all of the staging and entity parts, which is the more complex way, I guess, you need the analyst mindset.
Within the product teams that I work in, we can trust our data a lot more, and it's also, we can test any changes that we want to make a lot more quickly. So it makes us more effective in the long run.
So obviously you have the bread and butter tests, so making sure that an entry isn't null, making sure that a row is unique. But what's also very powerful is the ability to write macros, which do some other more complicated types of testing.
We've also written a few of our own tests, and that's really, really helpful, because then other people can reuse those. In the old world, before we had DBT, we really had to think when we were writing tests. It was a bit of a long process. Testing them was really hard. Reusing them was even harder.
The really, really useful thing is the DBT the expressions, so DBT utils. Checking that, oh, okay, this column should equal that one minus that one. These are the things you wouldn't tend to think about writing a custom SQL test for. But DBT makes it so you can do that in one line, which just makes it so much quicker. When we're happy that the model's been run and importantly been tested, we'll have a look at downstream impacts, and obviously making sure that we're not changing something that is going to ruin someone else's data model further downstream. Once we're happy with that, then we'll open up obviously a pull request, and they're looking to check for things like, okay, if we're changing the model here, are there any tests or descriptions that you should be adding?
We have a very good culture here at Monzo where these PRs are reviewed very thoroughly, and so if something is not really easily digestible, you will get that feedback and you'll have to rewrite the descriptions.
Once I've raised a PR, it gets reviewed by someone in the team, then it gets pushed to BigQuery, then it's immediately accessible to Looker.
Having really good documentation, DBT has allowed us to transfer knowledge really effectively and put it right at the source of where that information is coming from.
It makes you really think more deeply about the outputs that you're producing. Ultimately, that data is going to be consumed across the whole of the bank.
I actually found data documentation to be one of the most powerful tools for my use cases. Within operations, we actually had a really messy set of data models, and actually I don't think we really understood the size of the problem until we had DBT. And when we had DBT and we plotted the network graph of all of our different data models, it was just a massive pile of spaghetti.
We use documentation where we can actually write paragraphs about a model in the description, which is really, really useful. You don't really want to have within your code your logic being mixed with masses of descriptions about that logic.
Just having the visual documentation and really being able to see all of the different columns that we have, how they all connect to each other, was super useful.